downtown Nassau.
Faye Thompson is a rude boy. They don't know how to deal with me, so I've never been on their inner circle radar. But you're giving away the dock now, which belonged to us, and we got to offer shares to get a piece of it, and not all of us can enjoy it. That's not development. That's facilitating your friends, your families, and your lovers. That's not development. We did the same thing with our key. Now we're talking about Oban. There seems to be a pattern. And to be fair to Mr. Minnis, he's my family too, by the way. To be fair to Mr. Minnis.
You related to all kinds of
people. Yeah, I related to Chwao Lang and this man is Minnis.
Are saying and what Steve has to say.
I enjoy listening to Hard Copy with Steve McKinney.
Hard Copy with Steve McKinney is my show.
It is Thursday, March the 21st, 2019, as you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic. We have cloudy skies and rainy skies on the outside today. 79 degrees right now in the nation's capital. A low tonight of 7. Scattered showers and, of course, thunderstorms at 25%. They don't really want it, and that's a good thing for most Bahamians in the Bahamas. And, of course, we want you to be a part of the conversation. So do call us, because it is very important that you do have your say. There's a protest coming up. We don't know when, but we believe that that's going to happen very shortly because time is of the essence. 325-02-3506. 325-02-42 or 43. 325-02-52 or 53. You can also get us on the WhatsApp and texting today at 376-9234. That's 376-9234. This is a great conversation to be a part of because you're learning stuff. You're learning stuff from great men and young lawyers in our country, Faye Thompson and Paul Morse, who have been doing a tremendous job. They've been here from its inception, from its infancy stages, and I remember that day so clear. We were down at some other meeting. I believe it was CSME, something we were down to, and they were talking, and they had a big protest outside, and Philly just run outside and I said, well, what's going on here? And that was 18, 21 years ago, somewhere around there. And of course, the next thing we know is that they had been fighting this battle ever since. And so both gentlemen who are here today, they have learned a whole lot about what's been happening with the World Trade Organization. They can tell you the ins and outs of it. They can tell you why we ought not to join. And they can tell you that this is a bad deal, buddy. And that's what I want to hear you talk about today when you do call. You can also get us on Facebook and Hard Copy, World Wide Web at peace1075.com, the cable top box at 970. TuneIn Radio, iPad, iPhone, and the Android. We're always there, always on, listening to us around the entire world, and so you ought to be a part of what we're talking about here today on the show. Now, I want to run to a break. Let me take these first two calls, and I'll run to a break so that we can understand what people are talking about here today. Welcome to Hard Copy. How you doing, sir?
Yes, good evening to everyone.
Good evening. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yes. Gentlemen in studio and Steve, when you deal collectively with the foreign financial institutions, okay, what I like to call the OECD, the IMF that you mentioned, and you were talking about all day, about the WTO, what came to my mind, is our national security. And when it comes to national security, the most important responsibility for the government, all right, supposed to be the life of its people, okay? And if the government don't know what their job is, the people must say, let them know. But I'll say this to the contribution today when it comes to our national security and the conversation, WTO, and why I'm saying no. Not that I cannot see myself benefiting from the arrangement as I research it for myself. But when you're dealing with any nation or organization or organizations that comes together, and at the end of the day, us to be a part of it, we have to tear up our supreme law of this land, what generations unborn is entitled to by virtue of the fact of those who are living, especially the shoulders of those we're supposed to be standing on. So when you're dealing with these foreign financial institutions, we are telling them
appreciate what you're saying, and that's some deep stuff. I hear what you're saying. Fiend, you wanted to say something about that? Not really, but we can move on. Let me take another call. Hot copy, how are you?
Hey, Steve, how you doing, man?
Very good, thanks.
Let me say good afternoon to my comrades in arms. Dane.
Jeffrey.
And Paul.
Yes.
And you guys continue leading the battle. You know, I'm here sitting out here in all this rain and storm on our good Kimball Beach at Goodman's Bay, looking over the ocean and just listening to the conversation in the studio. You know, the one thing came to me so clear as a bell, and that is, look at all the pristineness that the master above has given the Bahamian people, and we, the people who we elected, are just giving it all away for tuppence, a couple dollars. We are about to lose this country in a very profound way, and our people still have not come to the realization that it is not for us that we do this. It is for our children and our children's children, our nieces and nephews, who are now going to be the inheritors of this land after we have left.
The 21st of March 2019 will never be the same ever again.
What kind of battle are we also imposing upon them to fight?
It's all up to you.
You know, I mean, we really have to get serious. I mean, it's about time the Bahamian people get serious, regardless of political parties. And I've always said that there are some things that transcend politics, some things that transcend political parties. It is all about the humanization. So Lyndon had it right in the beginning when he talks about protection of this land for Bahamians. Right now, we are on the cusp of losing every essential part of this country that is inherently ours. And we just sitting on the sideline, still watching.
Sitting quietly by.
Much. You know, but I must encourage you guys to continue to fight. There's more with you that is against you. We're going to get this thing done for Bahamians, and we got to send a loud and sounding message to the WTO organization that they're not going to accept it. Thank you for taking my question.
I appreciate your call, Jeffrey. Thank you very much. Hot copy, how you doing today? 6:20 is the time right now. How you doing, sir? Nobody's there? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hot copy, how are you?
Hi, how you doing, Mr. McGee?
Very good, sir.
Good afternoon to all you guests. First of all, I'd just like to say, everybody's saying Finland did this, Finland did that. First of all, Normandy was the first place to go sold the Finland. Julie them to do whatever they did. I used to be a fisherman, and if your boat break down, you couldn't go on Normandy, right? But as far as to go to the Bahamas already gone. Because I was coming from Exuma.
You say the Bahamas is already gone? It's already been sold?
Oh, fuck.
We don't even know it?
I was coming from Exuma 2 nights ago, right?
Yeah.
And I say, how do you get an asshole so quick? So Exuma Key, those keys right up like Miami. So I asked the cap, what's going on there? He said, stars and stuff with bought. This key, that key, and that key.
My lord.
That's the most foolishness in the world. But I called another talk show talking about the Roganite. I didn't say what talk show it is, right? But the gentleman could tell me that the Roganite, he had no kind of value until he turned it into sheetrock, which is a bunch of foolishness. Okay? But I just like the Bahamian people know, when you join the WTO, you might as well join the mafia, because when you leave, it could be a problem for you.
I hear you.
And ask the people to check Google and check out what the Illuminati is all about, and they can understand what's going on in this world. Okay?
I got you. The Illuminati. I've been hearing that name come up quite often in our gatherings of leaked. And of course, a lot of people have been talking about the Illuminati, meaning that, boy, you know, better watch what you're dealing with. Situation where should we enter or should we not enter? That really is the question. Has everybody forgotten really about the World Trade Organization? Not really, but the town folks sure are not thinking about it in enough words to express their interest. And so we wonder today if the people themselves are educated enough on aspects of the World Trade Organization. Today we've got a question for you, and that question is simply this. What would the World Trade Organization mean for the Bahamas, the last country in this hemisphere to be comforted by the fascinations and the bright lights of this one world partnership economy? It's a heavy question, right? What does it mean for us? With us today on Hard Copy, Mr. Paul Morse and Fane Thompson both have had their struggles with the World Trade Organization from its infancy stages. It continues to battle even more these days, especially now that the time is winding down. As a small developing country, I asked both gentlemen here with me today on the show, as a small developing country, shouldn't we in the Bahamas be concerned that the World Trade Organization agreements also forces countries to implement specific policies in their domestic laws? This is key because people have been talking about our sovereignty and all this kind of stuff, and everybody's been playing with that, playing it over, like, oh, we're not so concerned about that. But we have to ask that question. As a small developing country, shouldn't we in the Bahamas be very concerned that the World Trade Organization agreements also forces countries to implement specific policies in their domestic laws? Fane Thompson, I welcome you here today, and of course, Paul Morse, I welcome you here today as well, because we've got to get very sober and serious about the World Trade Organization. There's not enough happening on it. And I know that there are people who want to go and protest and break down the town and all that kind of stuff. But of course, we've got to talk about this with great sense. And we've got to last in this particular discussion. And I ask you that question today. Domestic laws, what does it mean on this agenda?
One thing was clear example, and thank you for inviting me, Steve, is our clear example of an area where World Trade restrictions on what policymakers can do when used to impact our country. One space that policymakers or politicians, people who lead our country, enjoy is the ability to make policy to protect the Bahamian people, to advance main government policy. So, for example, something as simple as what is good sanitation, health and state health,
like that.
Health, et cetera, et cetera. That is the purview of government solely in Parliament and through the executive to determine what's good in the Bahamian people's interests and to then fashion policy in that regard. Well, the experience of the WTO around the world is that when governments have acted to protect their people in specific circumstances, the WTO model, the WTO tribunals have shut those efforts down where they, quote-unquote, seek to interfere with freedom of trade. And when I say freedom of trade as defined by the WTO. Because we
as
do not...
defined by them.
As defined by them, not necessarily freedom of trade as we know it. So you are absolutely right, and that's a big area. Now, there are examples of this which have happened all over the world, most recently in Canada. The Ontario government wanted to put in place a system of encouraging a turn to using solar energy. And to do that, they found a local Ontario company, and they gave them the contract. Well, a protest was lodged at WTO against that particular preference of the local manufacturer with this green initiative. So much so that the Ontario local government was forced to stand down. That was a clear example of a policymaker being told, no. Even if you do things to protect the community, that's a no-no. That's a non-starter. Now, I want to just give a real quick example of it. It's not a good one, but I think it's maybe telling. OBAN. It's one of the most dangerous pieces of state government investor type agreements that has ever been signed. One part of it, as I understood it, the old deal, I don't know if it's now the old or the new deal, is that the government cannot do certain things in the event of, for example, of a natural disaster, and that any expense to be incurred or to be dealt with would go to a maximum of $6 million. It's these type agreements, these so-called investor state agreements, which are legion as part of the WTO mantra. The WTO is about transnational corporations protecting their interests to invest freely and to use the so-called mantra of barriers to trade to stop governments from protecting themselves.
So that infringes upon our sovereignty.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
Absolutely. It tells our parliamentarians there's certain things you can do and there's certain things you will not do, and what you will not do is to stop these type policy, you will stop these policy initiatives where they interfere with our freedom of doing business in your country in competition with the Bahamians. It's a huge area. Now, Steve, that is huge. To understand, and that's a very important question, to understand the WTO is to understand that very issue you just raised. Once you understand that, Bahamians will have no confusion that this is really a nonsense.
So you think that that's where the focus ought to be in the Bahamas for Bahamians on that particular matter with domestic laws and the many encumbrances that will happen in this particular case, because once people understand that, my friend, their whole thing will be, I don't know if I really want to do and be a part of this. and that would bring some clarity to the matters, what you say.
Yes, absolutely. And what we're trying to do in our group is to keep that message going in the various fora that we attend and the forum that we plan, to let Bahamian people know that this presents a clear and present danger to the survival of your democracy, to the continuation of our sovereignty as a nation.
Understood.
It makes us vassals in the state, and that gentrifies the Bahamas. In other words, issues of sovereignty at a certain level in the economy are not for your policy makers. This secret tribunal in Brussels or in Geneva will deal with these issues, and you will comply with us to the extent that you seek to prevent our people from doing business in your country according to the so-called WTO compliant rules. You will not interfere with business. They are the straitjacket rules which are now going to be imposed upon us. That's different from the status quo, Steve, which allows us to determine freely and with the free intervention of Parliament and its policy initiatives and its domestic laws which protects us.
Understood.
To take care of the Bahamian, to take care of the national interest. That will be changed.
You sound as if you have been there before trying to explain this to the Bahamian people,
Yeah.
but they don't seem to be getting that. I mean, I get it.